You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching the MetaShow.
Yeah.
Yay! Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the MetaShow, where today we have the Matani, the Bigger Boat, and our special guest Jay Amazingness here to help us get through another wonderful Saturday.
Excellent.
Yes.
Well, I'm delighted that we're here, and maybe we can actually make Jay talk, which is going to be important this time. I'm gonna say, everyone. Now, it is possible that the power of the smug will sustain me because it tends to do that. Last show was a fantastic, sort of double, triple overtime meta show, but this time I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. Unfortunately, I might have the plague, so Jay is going to have to talk a bit occasionally. But we have a lot of things to go over here. We're going to have a little bit more of a structured show. We actually have intros and outros for some of our classic areas of MetaShow fun, like the Nullsec Power Hour, CCP Please. We're going to be talking about the CO2 war up north. We're going to be talking about something we glossed over last week, which was the 5 dead CSAs in Fountain, SCSAs, I should say. Short Bus Syndicate, a couple Titan losses. We're going to be talking about in the CCP Please section, we're going to be talking about alpha clones and mega clones, what can be online and not at the same time. And one of the biggest changes we're going to have on the MetaShow, guys, we had a tremendous amount of subscriptions last time. And in fact, we're already getting a number of subs here. And one of the repeated comments we've gotten from people is we want to obviously have support for the channel and the site. But people were complaining about the fact that it was interrupting the flow of conversation. So the nice thing about us having an introduction, Nullsec Power Hour, and CCP Please is at the end of each of our segments, we are going to do shout-outs for everybody who subs, who gives us some Twitch Prime love with Bezos bucks. So, we'll just have that at every 5 minutes or so. We'll do that for all the donations and all of the subs, such that people don't have to wait until the end of the show, like at some shows. So it should be good shit. We have sort of a recurring thing here. Look at Nightbot. We have instructions on how to link your Twitch Prime account to give us Bezos bucks. It costs you nothing. Beyond that, it should be a pretty exciting time. And already, since we are moving away from the introduction area, I'm going to go ahead and give some shout-outs. So Iceburn has subscribed for 23 months. Excellent. JCell210 for 16, asking about Burn Jita for kids. We have a couple of... do we have it? Is that it? What do we got? I think we're good.
No, yeah,
yes.
That's it. That's the only 2 things so far.
Sweet. So far, so good.
So far, yeah.
And then I don't want to miss anybody and all that. And then one of the other things that's happened is we are moving to Imperium News from the Matane.com and looking to shut down the Matane.com. And the editorial team had a fascinating. This doesn't fit into Nullsec Power Hour, so we're just going to use it in the leader here.
Right.
We have. I'm going to link it here. There was a big controversy about a month ago where on the EVE Online public Facebook group, somebody popped up claiming to be the sister of a young woman who supposedly was playing EVE, both very beautiful girls, and there was, thinking about suicide and was bullied into attempt by people who were supposedly helping her, blah, blah, blah. And it turned out the whole thing was bullshit. There was no Olivia. Her sister didn't exist. It was actually some dude who plays EVE who was trying to set up a fake charity to do that. So I wanted to brag on the editorial team. This was a lot of investigative reporting that Matterall and Arindis and River and Finn, everybody essentially came together on the Imperium News editorial team, did a lot of shoe leather reporting, and exposed a charity scam, which has been an increasing problem in EVE. So good shit, check it out, and we're really proud of the guys. And before we move on, finally, last part of the segment, thank you, Hildefer, for subscribing for 20 months in a row.
Yeah, I don't know. Right. I don't know if this fits under Nullsec Power Hour or even CCP Please, but I1ISK is still attempting to be relevant. He's created a new website that uses fake currency and is smugging up about making $300 in a few hours, and is trying to use CCP intellectual property and get away with it. He's also trying to avoid gambling casino laws in the United States to do this app. Here's a link to about it. But he is basically going ape like nuts. Eep is just going crazy, and he's trying to do anything he can to get any amount of money. And here's a link to his most recent comments. This popped up yesterday. I've been trying to follow it all week. I swear, even though we smugged up a lot last week, I could keep going for another 2 or 3 shows. Like, there's just so much shit coming out of this issue.
That's true, and one of the things that's particularly interesting about that is, in addition to Eep doing all this stuff, and we do have some reporters looking into this, we have apparently EveBet claimed that they were DDoSed. So EveBet got DDoSed, and instead of staying open until CCP insisted that they would have to be shut down, they got DDoSed and then said that they were just going to shut operations early and start refunding people's money. I'm not really too sure what's behind that, because I mean, DDoS is a temporary thing. You get DDoSed and then you put it back up. So.
Well, so the DDoS thing was their claim. Well, then they claimed that because they got DDoS, their host server says, okay, you're done. So they're going to have to find a new place to live, so to speak.
That's actually a legitimate thing.
And so that's what they said. So instead of finding a new place, they were just like, okay, we're not going to start back up. We're going to give everyone their money back. And they've been doing, apparently from reports, they've been doing a good job of getting people their money back and making sure people have got their money, and they've been pretty stand-up about it, but they won't be reopening. So yeah, EveBet is done. So that'd be the last casino that was operational.
Yeah, I was wondering about the circumstances of that, but it's true that if you don't have DDoS protection, certain ISPs will say that you're too much of a threat for their business, and then just say, please shut your site down. Right. So that's a legitimate reason to shut that down.
Weren't they on OVH? I don't know. I don't know the details. I do know
they were not on OVH.
Where you host stuff that, I don't.
They were not on OVH.
I don't know.
If they were on OVH, then they wouldn't have this problem. But yeah, so that's some interesting sort of fallout from the casino stuff that has been overtaken in the minds of people, I think.
Yeah, and then back to the scam thing real quick that we did some research on. It was talked about this morning on the Open Talking Station show that it started off what looked like a lie, one big giant lie. The guy was just doing it for attention, and then it turned into a scam, and he realized he could get money out of it. So it started off as him just lying for attention, and there were several things that's pointed out in the article where he outfaced lies. Oh, I'm going to Vegas. I hope I can find a boyfriend. And then it transforms into a scam where he tries just to get tens of billions of ISK.
I think the Vegas boyfriend thing happened later. Like, I think it was like the initial thing was a cry for help or attention.
To be louder.
And then later the guys, this Olivia Brooks, who of course doesn't exist and is actually just photos stolen from a college student. Is I'm single and I'm going to go to Vegas, and I think that was like the trying to get people to give Olivia ISK in hopes of buying her love come Vegas.
Yeah,
so,
and
weird shit.
The thing that's really interesting about this is it's not included in the article, and a lot of people in the comments were saying, what's going to happen now with Eve? CCP don't take lightly to scamming with charities. I mean, I know a lot of charity things have happened recently, and there's been a lot of press about it, but if you scam with a charity, they will ban you. You're done. And anyone they find involved is gone. So if it's an entire corporation or if it's just one person, they will ban you. There's no question with that. So CCP is very clear-cut about scams with that stuff.
There's a very good point here from Ullard, which is that EveBet is not actually refunding everybody's money, and this is a key distinction. EveBet is honoring users' requests for getting their money back, but ask first. So
if you forget about the fact that you have 10 billion on there, you're out of luck. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
But that's not a huge surprise, because that's how these things work.
Jay, you're here at the moment. I want to get your opinion on the whole EveBet thing. What do you think?
I mean, I think I have like a couple bill on there, so I guess I should read for that. I assume they would pay out automatically, but they're not. So, yeah, I don't really know how I feel about it. I don't really have an opinion. So, gambling is bad, and I'm happy it's gone from the game. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. So, one Erox points out in chat. That's one of the guys that plays Arcades with us, Cheetah. Is it? If you go through the Facebook accounts, they've been around since 2014. So he's been doing a long game with these. He's actually built a persona around these two fake accounts.
Well,
And
people who
Eve,
do this,
too.
I think
Apparently
that's the
he's
thing.
not.
Like if you have bots set up, I mean, a lot of times people can use automated systems. We've encountered this in counterintelligence before, where people will you can use programs to set up fake automated identities that will even run themselves for a while. It can be kind of fire and forget. So that is a point that the Olivia identity had been created in 2014, and then I guess this guy probably has an entire network of fake Facebook profiles, and he just chose to use that.
Okay, so yeah, that's what you're going to see today. We're going to have a lot to talk about. There's a lot of different things on our list of things. So we'll get started with the Nullsec Power Hour, and I made a special thing just for it.
Oh boy, this should be excellent.
So as we transition to the Nullsec Power Hour with our fancy Nullsec Power Hour hearts, couldn't think of anything else.
I have to wait for a second because you get to see it instantly, but I actually have to wait for it to pop up on the screen.
Oh, I'm gonna make a
see,
video out of this.
Wow, okay, that's like a Valentine's Power Hour kind of thing.
Well, I figured Power Hour, Power Gay, something like that. I could, yeah. And I figured I'd do that, but it didn't. I don't know. It's funny. But yeah, so we start off.
Like a power bottom joke, but it came out.
Yeah, it just didn't.
Like basically like 6th grade
I love
girls
Bodok.
sitting at Valentine's parties.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I got nothing.
Bode is a genius. Thank you. So yeah, we start with CO2 War Up North. And not shockingly, progress for NC Dot has went backwards. They said, wait for PL. PL will come. And the Alliance tournament ended last week. Oh, which reminds me, I need to add something. Okay, so the Alliance tournament ends last week, and, well, PL didn't really contribute much. Yumi has swapped hands. The iHub and Station are back in CO2's control. And they're losing they're losing fleets constantly. Like, CO2's been doing some really fucked up fleets that we'll get into in a moment. But they're still winning the solve timers. So,
well, I mean, I think that's something that NC isn't too serious about actually taking tribute per se. I mean, I know that Horde was talking about how they wanted to relocate from Fade to Tribute because it's a better region, but Horde isn't the one who's doing the lifting here, right? Any kind of actual heavy activity is going to have to come from NC and PL. Horde is basically just there to be Gobbins' wretched meat shield for NC and PL.
Yeah.
So if NC isn't going to be pushing forward on Sov, NC is probably happy actually just getting fed fleets. Jay, what have you been thinking about this? Have you been following the war up north?
Yeah, I've been following it pretty good. It's you say that they haven't made much progress in taking Solve, but they've been killing a lot of fleets, and CO2 had a lot of ISK from I want ISK bankers, so they're trying to, I think, deplete their war chest for this war.
Mhm.
Yumi iHub has been taken and lost a few times this week. Also, they lost F-Tech-R, got reinforced today, a couple of hours ago. I think they have a Citadel there as well. NC has a Fortizar there, so I know NC seem to be doing a lot slower this week. Like there isn't as much drive. It's almost like they lost their source of money, and they are less willing to put fleets on the field and engage in fuzzy stuff.
Yeah,
that being CO2 is less willing to engage, or
NC
Gigax is going for it. He's
Gigax
like Omen
is so
Navy fleet
hardcore.
after Omen Navy fleet. Also a hull tank, Brutix and Hurricane doctrine, which is very interesting.
No Logi, Suicide Hull Tank Brutix Hurricane Doctrine has been released this week. Now, according to some insiders, everyone in Eve.jpg that matters, as far as FCs go, have looked at this and go, what the fuck are you thinking? But I'd like to say it's genius. And this is why. After insurance, these things cost like 10-15 million. They're cheap as fuck. They have 100,000 hit points, so they're hard to bomb compared to like say Shield Hurricane that has like 50,000. And they do as much DPS as they normally would using rails and artillery. So he's literally throwing hundreds of these at the problem. Mix that in with a few Dread Bombs, and now you got a Dead Titan. They used their Rail Brutixes to kill a Titan recently. And that's their Suicide Doctrine. So if it gets Doomsday, don't get Doomsday. And that's that, So...
It's going to be fascinating to see how this works. One of the things that we don't know yet, and this is how the casino stuff blends into the Nullsec Power Hour, CCP Quant had promised to release a dev blog about the economic report for the last month. And until he does that, we don't actually know. We only have estimates and reports that we're trying to piece together from various things of exactly how much dirty ISK was removed from the system. Now, from what we understand, excuse me, from what we understand, at least 30 trillion ISK was removed from the game. Active ISK, just taken out. And so I think what we're seeing here in these engagements is some of the first situations where you get to see a post dirty RMTing, exploiting, cheating ISK budget impacting NC.dot and PL. How do these entities behave when they cannot simply use a cheat code to get this kind of dirty ISK? So it's going to be fascinating to see if NC.dot is a lot slower, a lot more cautious, and more careful, because it's not just that they, and this is the distinction, it's not just that these guys no longer have the ability to make new ISK for free using dirty money. It also means that CCP confiscated a bunch of the existing ISK in the system. So where they previously had, who was it? Blue Melon, I think, had like
320 billion, and then
and Killa lost like 1.5 trillion.
Yeah.
It's just like gone. So this is liquid ISK that these alliances have depended upon to be able to do whatever they want. They don't really have sources of income besides small corporate-based moon systems and some renter money in some cases. So it's going to be fascinating to see. Well, the focus of the CO2 conflict was always going to be, are they going to go after the Keepstar, right? And now we have to wonder, do these guys have the balls to go after the CO2 Keepstar at all in an environment where they might actually have to pay to reimburse their Titans?
So two interesting points about this that you bring up. One is PL and NC.dot get rid of all their renters right around the time the casinos were pulling in this insane amount of money, so they didn't need renters anymore. They didn't need to worry about the solve of their renters. They just got rid of them. Now they have the bot renters up in the drones. BOT is Brothers of Tangra.
Those are renters, and they also have Care for Tix Empire, which is also just a renter scam.
We'll get to shortly. But then also another thing that I've noticed, you mentioned the Gobbins Meat Shield. One of the fights this week that happened were over a solved contest. There were some T3s from NC.dot, there were some Brutixes and Hurricanes from CO2, but the real big win is that CO2 and CO2 and Test were able to use Feeples and other anti-hacking doctrines and wiped out some 60 hackers from Horde alone. NC.dot had 10, but there were one guy lost 10 Maulers himself. Just continuously reshipping in Horde. And that's the thing that's known for Horde, is that they use Horde as their hacking bot, right? They get this giant Horde fleet of nothing but hackers and small ships and just release them. And these guys are suiciding hacking ships by the dozens. And that's what's happening. And they're still losing. They're having the full force of the 10,000 or so hacking fleet to pull from. And they're still not winning timers.
It's fascinating to see the propaganda on this, because we have called out Pandemic Horde during the Casino War. We repeatedly called out Pandemic Horde during the Casino War for essentially being battered wives, battered spouses, and essentially the churn that we charted during the Casino War showed that new players were coming into EVE, trying on Gobbins' style of leadership by joining Pandemic Horde because it was heavily promoted as being good for newbies, and then they'd burn out and quit EVE very rapidly, and we saw that in the statistics because it was all based upon stuff that you could find from the API. Right. And so this is again the terrible value proposition of join Pandemic Horde and you can be a SOV slave in literally the worst aspect of gameplay in EVE Online today, which is Fozzie's SOV system. Nobody likes it. So it's interesting to see, now that the Casino War is over, that Test, who is, of course, proud members of the Money Badger Coalition, which is now a rather ironic name, calling out the same thing that we said during the Casino War, which is, lo and behold, Pandemic Horde are, in fact, just abused spouses, and everybody is just taking orders from PL, and they get to do all the shit work. So it is at least nice to see some consistency and recognition from our dear friends in Test that we were right, and that we're all on the same page about the true nature of Pandemic Horde. It just took Test a few months longer to realize it.
Right.
So good on them.
One thing you're also seeing, speaking of the Keepstar, is that Suis is trying to sell a Revenant there, currently. He posted I'm trying to find the exact thread. He posted a willing to sell thread about selling there, and so it looks like they're still using it to store Titan Supers, any of that stuff. So it'll be interesting to see. That'll be, I think that'll be the first time in EVE you see a Keepstar assaulted. Now there was one assaulted as a joke, and I believe that was the Shadow Cartel / Mercenary Coalition one that was hit by PH with Nightmares, but that was just kind of like a joke. They were just sticking around. But I think a serious assault will happen. That'll be the first one. So that'll be something to watch for in the coming weeks.
Let's talk about these CSAs because we didn't really cover
Yeah,
it
we
very
missed
much
that
last
last
week.
Jay, you
We were too busy smugging.
I think you have seen all of these pretty much, or at least in part of that. Can you explain what happened with these 5 CSAs?
I was there for a few of them, yeah.
Okay.
So you discovered that in Fountain there's a few. These are the Fountain CSAs, right? Because I want to get into.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Because
Yeah,
there's
the
been a
5
few
ones.
CSAs that died this week.
Sorry, I was
Okay,
pointing out
so-
the chart here. Give
Yeah.
me the link.
So the Fountain CSAs, we figured out that thanks to our lovely dudes who do the scouting and recon, that the culture were building some supers nearby, and we have, we may have had some intel about what was inside of them, so we decided to go reinforce them, and they were timed really weirdly. Like I think one of them was like EU time zone, and one of them was very late US, which is odd for the culture because they don't have many FCs in US time zone. They have like.
Do you think
maybe
that was a
one.
mistake, or was that part of a plan to bring all of Eve? Oh, that's right. I remember what happened with this.
Yeah,
one.
yeah, this was the
That's right,
6
'cause
Eve one. Yeah.
That was the Shadow Cartel one.
I found
That's
the
what-
cell thread, by the way. There it is. Right
Yeah.
there. But go ahead. Sorry, Jay.
But we were after them, and then we expect all of Eve to show up for them. So we form big. We form, our caps and our supers, and then nothing. Like no one showed up to them. I think we got a fight over one of them in US time zone, but that was about it.
Yeah, the U.S. time zone one, and this is one of the reasons why we talk about how Ragnar Bile of the culture, the leader of the culture, has his Rolodex, and he is constantly calling for help from anybody in Eve, because the culture spits out between 80 and 100 people. They've got pretty tight doctrines. They've got a really good battleship doctrine. They use lots of rattlesnakes. Good fighters, mainly EU based. But what had happened is that he had been helping fuel his Rolodex by building supercapitals for other entities. So the low-sec bat phone came calling because there was a fight over one of these in USTZ. That was when Shadow Cartel lost, I think, a Titan and a Super in build in a culture SCSAA. So suddenly at like 5 o'clock Eve, all of Eve comes rushing to save this thing. And the Imperium loses like 40 billion ISK worth of subcapitals. It was our Balgord doctrine, but we did pop both of the
funny thing
SCSAs,
about
so
that-
high fives all around.
I was at that fight. I couldn't participate because I might have been, like, there was a moment where I could have been called away at any moment, so I couldn't actually FC. But I was there, and I watched the live stream. They didn't even bother to stop us going to the two, like, killing both CSAs, right? We killed the first one. They let all of our caps warp to the next one. They let us kill the next one without contesting. And then they let us work back. I mean, they killed a bunch of Balgorns and smugged up how they killed Balgorns. But, I mean, the players that we saw at that timer, it was 6 Eve. And you saw people that were Euro-dominated. Shadow Cartel is not very big in US Prime, yet they had 100-plus people. You had MC there, you had Darkness rolling in. Like, basically all these Euro time zone groups showed up. But I think the single best one of all these is that if you look at the link I just put in the chat, this is willing to sell, willing to trade Avatar and Nyx and parts in Fountain. So, Escalating Entropy was confirmed to have a Titan build in one of these CSAs. I think Rancor
It was the CEO.
himself.
It was the CEO's avatar.
Yeah, his
for
personal
Escalating
avatar.
Entropy.
And then we found out through this post that they had a second one ready to go and build next. And, well, we obviously can
Wow.
confirm that it's not getting built because here's the location. The guy posts the exact location of where all this stuff is located in G95, where the CSAs were. He posts what he planned on building, Avatar and Nyx, and what he wanted to do with them. So yeah, he was definitely
You
doing
normally to get this intel from like the Black Hand or whatever, but this dude just posts it openly. So thanks to
That
him for
is
providing
ridiculous.
everyone with
And of
this,
course,
instead of
dude's
just
got a
few
hold of this
people.
and just made jokes about, like, we'll take it for 5 bill, because not only is this not an NPC system, it's located in G95, which is player owned. So that means if the station's taken, he has no access to it. If it's in a Citadel, I mean, he could safe asset it out, but there's no guarantee it's in a Citadel. So, yeah, he pretty much has an avatar stuck, thanks to the greatness of Rancor Bile. So, but I will say, I mean, if he was getting paid to do this, say 5-10 billion a pop, I mean, it's a pretty good idea. You know, you're adding to your Rolodex. You know, you have people to call on when shit goes bad for yourself, and you're getting paid. So,
But we're going to have to see how that goes. I mean, the initiative, of course, lives to the north of the culture in Cloud Ring these days, and so if things are getting more active with Fountain Core and LSH, Lysagnia Schlupen, which is very hard to pronounce, there's a lot of potential for some chaos, I think, all the way around.
Yeah, so...
Fountain is an interesting place.
I don't have a segue button. I thought I'd made one, but that's a great segue because you mentioned LSH. As of today, LSH no longer has Sov in Fountain. They have lost all their Sov control in Fountain as of, I believe, today or yesterday. So all the...
Who do they lose it to?
Culture, I believe.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of fights over Fortizar.
Yeah, you'll notice from
LSH
PNQY South all the way to Hophib, if you look at this link in Dotland here, you'll notice that LSH Sov is dropping. They've been losing it at a pretty steady pace, and they're down to the last few systems, and those will probably fall today at some point. But in the fact that LSH has lost this bit of Sov, Red Menace Coalition and UMAD, of course, is the guys that live in the center of Fountain Core, now control anything south of KVN. So KVN to Y2 is now in Red Menace Coalition hands, and anything just from NPC Fountain to KVN is now in UMAD's hands. So looks like TC is starting to give up anything on this side of the border, places they can't bridge past. So that's an interesting note. So, yeah, so that's what's been going on in Fountain.
All right, well, let's go ahead and look over here. Let's talk about the care for ticks, because this is the thing.
Yeah,
I think, Jay, was it you who came up with care for ticks as a way to describe care for kids?
It was me and Tiberizo. Like, me and Tiberizo both had, both at the same time was like,
simultaneous
oh my god,
idea.
Care for
ticks.
Yeah.
And the reason we say this for people who are unaware of what it is, we were calling this crap out on last week's MetaShow. Care for Ticks is supposedly a charity, because now whenever we encounter charities in EVE, we're all going to be a little skeptical. But they're building super capitals for PL and God knows who else up in the drone regions. They're run by a PL guy who apparently has an entire network of cancer-afflicted children who are playing EVE Online, because kids playing EVE Online is a great idea. Nobody has ever actually seen or met any of this, legion of cancer-afflicted children who are playing lots of EVE for Care for Ticks. They were funded by I Want ISK explicitly and openly. All over Care for Ticks' crap was this I Want ISK stuff, and of course we know that I Want ISK is dirty, dirty, dirty cheaters who are now banned. And lo and behold, this Care for Kids empire, which you were supposed to never attack because it's totally a charity, guys, they just accepted an old AAA corporation in there, and they just lost a ratting nix. And if you actually go up there, it seems to be a whole bunch of Russian botters who are actually just really dedicated to helping children with cancer.
Yeah, it's not even the one corp, it's a whole group. Like, the whole group has Sov there. It's basically a rental empire now. And this Nix was not even the first thing. They've lost carriers, they've lost other subcaps, wormholers have been poking at them, especially the inner hell, which happens to be, I believe, Russian wormholers, have been coming out of wormhole space fucking with people in that time zone. So yeah, it's fucking hilarious. I mean, what I want to understand is, how do people still sit here and say, oh, those keep stars were Care for Kids, we can't, we don't want to mess with those, they're there to help kids. You have Care for Kids Empire. They're taking Sov. Like, they own Sov. They're a corporation that owns Sov. They rat in space actively, and where does that money go? A Nix is not a kid. There's no kid flying that Nix, unless your kid happens to be a Russian bot. I mean...
It's just dumb.
Yeah.
Like, the fact of the matter is that even if it wasn't a scam in some way, I mean, player-created charities are now something that has to be examined very suspiciously, because there have been a number of scams related to charities. But on the face of it, EVE Online is not a children's game.
Right.
Period. Right?
Like,
it is not for kids. You do not go, EVE, Somalia in space, red in tooth and claw, no rule of law, this is a great place for children. And the other thing is that if there are all of these kids running around playing EVE, CCP would have put them on TV and taken the thing away from this guy, because it would have been great publicity. But instead it's just totally kids, and funded by a now banned, blacklisted, exploiting entity that existed to funnel black money into Alliance wallets. and into the real world wallets of people like Eep and Lenny and all of these other idiots. The entire thing is just so dodgy. And the thing that I love about exposing these charity scams is the self-righteousness of the people who thought that if they called it a charity, that nobody would go after them, nobody would question it. Basically, the argument that they would like to make, and I've seen this Care for Kids person try to do this before, of how dare you, won't you please think of the children, how dare you mock our Russian botting, I Want Is Casino, black money funded charity. How dare you attack it?
Yeah,
it's just horseshit. It's hypocritical horseshit.
Chat's saying it's legal estates over 13 to now adult. Either it was changed or is, but doesn't matter. The point is 13 plus is teenager. That's not a child. You shouldn't have some kid that's 8 years old, which they show on their Care for Kids website, and say he's 8 years old playing this game. He's a kid, right?
It's fucking stupid. Like, I'm sorry. If you're falling all over yourself to try to defend Care for Kids, that means that you are a PL affiliated apologist or a fucking idiot. That's all it is. Either you're trying to defend the fact that these guys are helping make renting income for your alliance, or you have your head completely up your ass. Just on the face of it, it fails the sniff test.
Oh,
it has,
here we go.
If the I Want ISK affiliation wasn't enough. So
Jay, my man. There's an image linked in chat by Jay Amazingness. This is a super capital assembly array with the Care for Kids empire as the corporation or alliance building it. So if that doesn't show you shit, I didn't even know about this.
Well,
this
it's children in long-term stay hospitals, and that's why we've never actually seen any of these cancer kids. And it just so happens that they're crapping out super capitals, and in local they speak in Cyrillic.
Yeah, it gets even better. So if you look at the link I linked for Dotland, 21 corporations, at least half of them are old Russian botting corporations, and they own 17 sovereignty systems, all of which are known to be a botting part of where Xdeath rents them out for botting, like renting and all that stuff. It's, the healing, there you go, Jade links it, the healing power of carrier botter ratting.
The healing power of carrier ratting, yeah. I mean, I think that people are just kind of getting fed up with this crap, because it's such a common thing now. Like, this Olivia thing happened and it was a scam, let's start a charity. Oh, the Care for Kids thing happened. Like, the question that we have to ask is, would this fake Olivia Brooks charity thing have even bothered to be done by this idiot that we just helped expose, the Imperium News editorial team? I actually had nothing to do with that. I'm very proud of the guys. I have no credit on that. But, would that Olivia Brooks person have even bothered trying to do it if it wasn't for, the example of Care for Ticks in the first place?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even want to get into this. People are playing like the rules game with that, and I don't really give a fuck. All I know is Care for Kids is fucking ridiculous. It's like anyone that does a charity. You guys have heard my stance on this many times. I don't care if one of your mates died. It's a fucking video game. You show up, I'm gonna blow you up, right? That's simple. I don't care if it's charity. I don't care if it's a memorial realm. It doesn't matter. And welcome to video games.
I'd be willing to support if CCP. When they do their Red Cross things, I always give up a couple plex to that. But outside of like giving plex to CCP, where I know they're going to do stuff with it.
Yeah, that's the fucking Red Cross. Exactly.
You're giving them, but see, you're giving it to CCP themselves, right? You're not giving it to a player. Yeah. You're giving it to CCP. It's a company where if they're scamming you, that's their company. Goodbye, company, right? It's not the same when you're giving it like these players. I don't know. Anyway, holy shit! 52 trillion or billion. Sorry, not trillion. Billion ISK freighter just got yanked, or jump freighter just got ganked by Midi Love.
That's excellent.
Rip
wow,
that!
That is what
holy
is
shit.
That thing? Plastic wrap. That is just
oh my God.
a pile of crap. That's a Winnebago.
It's got everything in it. That's somebody's life right there. Just got fucking zapped. Sad thing is nothing dropped. Rip. Oh my good. 23 over 98, 23 over CFX. Jesus Christ. Okay, thanks for the kill mail link, by the way. Thank you, sir.
It's like a lot of salvage. So sorry about your rig losses.
Yep. See your 58 bill. All right. So since we're on the topic of super capital deaths, I'm gonna go ahead and move us over to some interesting things and related to Keepstars. The Manila Keepstar has produced some hilarity for people that like to hunt super capitals and titans. I kind of passed my phase of doing so. But you'll notice there'll be two links here in a second. One is an ex-SMA member died 1 Sino and 2 gate jumps away from the Manila Keepstar. He was killed either going to the Keepstar or coming from, but he's completely unfit, just cap fit, travel fit. And just a few days later, and a few jumps next door, within jump range, a Aeon died in the same area to the same kind of people. If anything, that Keepstar has produced some hilarity because people are either buying or going there to sell, and they're dying along the way. So, just like everyone said,
And they're doing it for kids.
well, it gets even better.
It's a real shame that.
Oh, sorry.
It's a shame that Lenny Kravitz got banned. That this route is. They could have been completely protected moving around if Lenny didn't get banned.
Yeah, see, here's the thing.
Banned and they say that they're going to try to continue with their little trade network, from what I understand.
Yeah, they're still
but,
trying it
Oh.
because according to them, the control is in Kriba's hands, and CCP is not going to get rid of our Keepstars because it's not ours anymore. That was their thing. They gave it to Kriba right before all these bans happened. I still think both Keepstars should be blown up. That's just my opinion. But here's the thing: is when that Keepstar was dropped, all of Eve.jpg were very explicit in saying it's a bad place to put it if you're trying to sell caps because it's a pipe.
It's great if you want to gank.
Yeah, if you want to
exactly.
gank them and you want to be PL and you want to blow them up, that's the best place to put it. And here's examples. These are just two this week. There have been more Titans and Supers that have died going to and from that place. Yeah, so that's been happening. Oh, now I'm yelling. First I was too quiet, now I'm yelling. Okay. But yeah, so that's an example of what's been going on with those two. It's been kind of hilarious because, you know, we've seen it coming. It's more confirmation of what we said. More smug, I guess. Yeah, I feel bad for Kriba. Someone points out he comes out there smelling like shit. He does, because they gave him both Keepstars, right? Right before all these bans happened. And now he's in a hard place, right? Because he's a very trusted member of Eve, whereas, you know, he does third-party sales, he does this. And if CCP decide to blow those up, it's going to make him look bad, you know? I mean, I doubt they will.
Well, I mean,
but...
I don't think that if the, you know, first of all, I don't think that CCP is going to blow them up, because once the assets are in the game, they can be blown up by players and things like that. Second of all, I mean, Kriba, there are, you know, this doesn't necessarily mean that Kriba is himself dirty or anything like that.
Oh, I don't think so either, no.
I think that it's been a bad couple of months for Kriba-associated entities, and so, you know, you don't want to have your name associated with these things, and so between the Olivia charities that, in theory, some of them people set things up to go through Kriba, the Olivia thing happened on top of all of this dirty Care for Kids, Iowa Disc bullshit charity crap. You know, it's been a bad month and a half, I guess. But in general, like, I don't think that anybody thinks that Kriba has done anything wrong. You know, he is an arbitrator of a lot of deals, and I'm sure that he's going to continue
Kriba's a cool
to
dude,
be
yeah.
Kriba.
Yeah, I don't think Kriba's at fault here at all. I just think it's he's been put into a bad situation possibly, but we'll see. Last thing on the NullSec Power Hour here is something that happened on, I believe, Sunday, and Jay told me to make sure I include this, is that PL lost the Alliance Tournament again. And it's very possible, like always with PL, that there'll be some scandal that comes out in the next few months claiming that the person that beat them or is above them cheated in some way. Yeah, there's nothing much to say about this.
Like an hour ago, Blue Melon posted his thread on the sell orders in the Evo forums, and he's saying, on behalf of Pandemic Legion, nearly winners of the Alliance Tournament, they're selling their ships off.
Oh, and since we're talking about PL losing, I want to
Well, that would explain why they would be selling their ships, is because they don't have the casino money all of a sudden.
Yeah,
so this makes sense. Instead of just holding them, which is what they would do previously, because they didn't need the money, now they're going to actively have to sell the AT ships.
Yeah,
because
speaking of
they don't have free money from casinos. Speaking
of needing money, we noticed two very hilarious things that happened this week. Chocolate Rain, yeah, we did have the discussion about that already. So, someone's saying that a Rabisu, which is, I believe, the cruiser that is from this... Oh, shit! Apparently Chocolate Rain stole a Rabisu from PL! Which is the, like, 200 billion-isk cruiser!
He's in fleet with, like, Blue Melon and Casper, so they've been...
Oh my god, if she pulled this off...
I doubt that she stole it. I mean,
yeah, they've been roaming around.
Yeah, I don't think
Blue Melon lets everyone fly all of his ships.
Yeah, I know. So we'll see if that's real or not. But the point is, we noticed two very important things. One was a Sniggerly member, which is a long-standing member of Pandemic Legion, who was caught by who's that guy that goes around killing ratters in the north? The 4 Interceptor guy. Sumatra caught a Vexor Navy issue belonging to a PL member or an Ishtar, one of the two. Ratty. Killed it. That's the first time we've seen a PL router in almost a year. And then another PL member of the same corporation was caught in wormhole space trying to do an Astero do like anomaly and hacking and all that kind of stuff. So we're already starting to see like PL line members having to go out and make the money.
Actually, well, this is what we're talking about on the show last week, which is that these people are going to actually have to start playing EVE because they're on the same level as everybody else now. They will have to participate in the game and compete in a game without having a completely outside of the game, unattackable source of trillions of ISK. So it's going to have a massive effect on the way that the nullsec balance of power plays out. Not just like saying, ha ha ha, these guys have to rat, but like what we were talking about earlier on the show with the tribute conflict slowing down massively because suddenly NC Dot doesn't have any of the additional sources of funding that they had.
Yeah, and PL is actually in this war now, so they were saying, oh, wait for PL, they're going to make a game changer. PL's been here since Sunday. They were using APOC fleets, they were using their Capitals, Titan Supers, whatever, and yeah, it's been kind of hilarious. Apparently the Astera alt belonged to Dankool, and if that's the case, that's even funnier, because I'm pretty sure he doesn't need to do that, so that's hilarious. Alright, so we're going to move on. We've talked a lot about nullsec, there was a lot of things to talk about, but that was it for our wonderful nullsec discussion. So now we move on to the next image, which brings us to our CCP Please segment.
CCP Please.
Which you'll notice that I hand drew CCP Fozzie with a wizard hat.
Oh boy.
It
This
says
is gonna
CC please. I tried to write CC please, but it didn't work, so I just wrote CCP please, whatever. But hey, we're moving on to the next. We're moving to the next thing.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting here in horror.
You're about to.
Wow. So it's
it's a wizard
are
hat.
those pants or is that a skirt?
I couldn't tell. I tried to make it shorts, but like small shorts, but it didn't really. Yeah.
Wow.
So, Mo, what are you doing to us? Oh yeah. So No, this is the segment of the show where we talk about balance and patch notes and other things that are coming. And for those of you wanting to click link, I got the link for you right here. We've talked about this for the last about month, really, but there's some things that they've gone over this week that they've talked about, and we're going to get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about is a rant from me. Hi.
Oh boy.
There has been 0 reports from CCP. I've been watching this pretty much daily because I have 2 characters with this. They do not plan on refunding leadership skill points at this time. For those of you that don't know, the leadership skill point grind is a 14.4 million skill point grind. It takes almost roughly a year to do. You have to dedicate all your time to it. And outside of skill doing all that lovely leadership stuff, CCP has not made any comment about, hey, all you people, we may train this, we're not going to give it back. Now, they gave back leadership skill points. For those of you that not leadership, skill training skill points. If you remember back in the day, you could train up like Charisma to 5 or whatever, and it would make you train faster. When they got rid of those skill points, they refunded everyone. They gave you back like 250,000 or 1 million skill points, depending on what you had. But they're not going to be giving back skill points to you as of right now for all that leadership. And there's an outcry. I've been hearing it all week for people who have FC5, which is a 56-day train. The fastest you can make that's 36 days. So there's been a lot of upset people out there, and not just myself. So I don't know. I don't know what CCP's going to do. I don't know if they're just going to ignore it and just let it happen, or if I'm going to have to skill goo a whole lot of stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't have to skill go. Look, my character looks kind of weak without all those skill points.
Yeah, what do you think?
We have like 90 million skill points.
Yeah, what do you think, Jay? I mean, all that leadership. I mean, everyone has trained SC5 if you need it. Now, no longer. I mean, it's redundant now, right?
I mean, it was not redundant. So, kind of, it's a mixed bag. So, FC5 with Command Ships 5 is going to be very good on Command Ships. You have like 70k links. And even on like T3s, I think it's like 65-ish. So you still get very good range with the burst. I don't know what we're calling them as a AoE.
Oh, so having FC5 will actually add the range.
Yes,
I missed
it
that.
increases
Damn
the
it.
range.
Well, then I'm ranting for nothing.
It doesn't.
Do you think that the reason why they're not, like, do you guys think that the reason why they're not refunding the skill points is that they're trying to incentivize people to use extractors before the patch?
I mean, I guess it's possible.
It would be kind of a cheap way to do it though, because you can't really. So say I want to extract I have like I think 15 million skill points because I have the mining ones as well.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to extract those and re-inject them, I'd only get say like. I think I'd get like 5 million skill points.
Yeah,
out
you get
it,
about a third of the value
yeah.
for all that. So it's possible they're trying to get you distracted and then sell it. which is a thing, because you have alpha clones coming right around that patch day. So if they get everyone to hurry up and extract it and sell it, and then when alpha clones happen, alpha clones don't use extractors. So you don't need extractors for alpha clones. But that brings us to our next topic. What a wonderful segue this is. Alpha clones cannot be used at the same time as an Omega clone. Meaning that if you have an Omega clone online, in-game, you cannot log in an Alpha clone. And if you have an Alpha clone online in-game, you cannot log in an Omega clone. That fucking sucks.
I think it makes sense, right? I mean, well, you don't want to have... I mean, otherwise you'd have an entire armada of people just bringing 25-plus alts at the same time.
Well, no, I understand, like... Okay, I don't mean like this. I meant, like, I own a Titan. I want my Titan to stay subbed. I want to be able to bridge fleets. But I should be able to log in my Titan and then bridge my Alpha clone so my Alpha clone can go play, right? I don't mean to have 100 Alpha clones, but at least be able to have one, right? And so if I want to bridge a fleet of Alpha clones, those people shouldn't be restricted from bringing...
Well, it's the same thing. I mean, it's the same thing as with a trial account, though. I mean, it's the same restriction. You're not able to do that with trial accounts. Why would you do that with Alpha clones?
And perfect segue! This is a glorified trial account. That's what it is to me. Everything that they've said in their forum posts...
it's a free-to-play. It's free-to-play. Of
right,
course,
yeah.
It's mass free-to-play, so it is a glorified trial account. That's working as intended, I think.
But CCP has specifically stated and made it very clear, this is not just a better trial account. We're not just renaming it from trial account to Alpha clone. It is a better than trial account. It's better in every way. But every single thing they've said about it, it's not different. It is literally a trial account.
Yeah, no, I disagree with you fundamentally on this one, and the reason is I'm going to take a nominates argument from chat here, which is great because my brain is leaking out my ears. But nominate points out that the way that how EVE is so competitive, if they allowed you to have a Alpha clone account and an Omega clone account at the same time, the competitive nature of the game would functionally require everyone to be a multi-boxer. You would have to always do that because otherwise, it just doubles the amount of accounts logged into the game if you could constantly be doing that. So, there are edge cases where it'd be nice to be able to bridge your Alpha clone around with your Titan or whatever, but in general, if they didn't have that restriction, then suddenly everybody would have twice as many logins and you'd be required functionally to stay competitive to run an Omega and an Alpha simultaneously.
That's a good point. Well,
looking forward to Alpha clones. I honestly am.
Tell us about your opinions of Alpha clones, Jay, and why.
I think it's going to be good for the game. Having people come in, new people's always fun. More newbies. However, you have to limit it to one per PC, I guess.
Yeah.
Although that doesn't stop me. I mean, when I play EVE, I have like up to 30 accounts going at sometimes. So I have like 2 or 3 computers that I use. So I mean, I'll just run an Alpha clone on like a laptop or something if I really want to Alpha clone and use my mains.
Well, that's one thing to be careful of though, because they have pointed out that if you try to VM it, so if you try to use a virtual machine to run an Alpha clone and an Omega clone,
I'm using a different computer. So
yeah, so I don't know how that'll work, but yeah, it's interesting because I don't think you should have armies of them because I would literally have 100 of them. I put one in every system in an entire region, and then if I need to have eyes in that particular system, boom, log in, done. But at the same time, it'd be nice to be able to take my Alpha clone and go do stuff in low sec and run around a little frigate while I'm still be able to do stuff, in 0-0. But I can see where the negatives would be. That makes sense when nominate and you bring it up that way. So. That was an interesting point with Alpha clones and Omega clones, that you cannot have multiples. We didn't talk about that at all yet, so wanted to bring that up. And then now we move into the most important part, which we didn't get to last week because we were smugging, but they have announced the engineering complexes, the medium, the large, and the XL size complexes. Of course, large allows you to build caps, medium allows you to build subcaps, and XL allows you to build supercaps and titans, but it does not allow you to dock supercaps and titans. That is a very important point they want to make out there. These things are amazing. I don't know if you've looked at them, Matani, yet, but they are fucking baller things. So, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I mean, I was about to say, like, they're fantastic for industry, which is not my area of specialty, but I've been hearing a lot about them, and I know that lots of people want to drop them, even up to and including the XL complexes, because for local T2 production, the bonuses are ridiculously good. Like, it's like a free additional 6% for your margins on the XL. And the thing about these that is interesting from a strategic perspective is when they eventually update the XLs to display what is getting built inside of them is going to be a massive change in the meta, because suddenly there will no longer be questions about what is getting built inside of this super capital assembly area. You'll see a little image. Now, this will not be in the initial patch, from what I understand, but it's being added later. We've already seen some concept art for it.
Yes.
Of Titans being sort of built with nanites in the same sort of graphical design as we've seen with the Citadels
It's
online.
in this,
so
right.
it looks pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. It's
Right.
in this post here.
Exactly. So that's pretty cool, and that's going to change everything, because there's no longer going to be a question of like what's in there as components or whatever. Everybody is going to know, and individual scouts will be able to do something that only internal spies were able to do previously.
Yeah, that's my favorite part, because I love hunting super capital yards. Like, you get somebody dumb enough to build one in the ass end of nowhere and think it's safe because it's out in the nowhere, and then you show up, and then you kill those things. Well, now you can confirm, okay, that's got a Titan, a Nyx, and an Aeon in build. Boom.
It's going to do terrible things to the drone regions, because the drone
Right.
regions are basically drone regions and Omist are areas where people have been hiding super capital production for years, and it's just there's so many super capital arrays out there that you have no idea what's in what. And now, particularly when that change goes in, people will have to do new builds, but to put them into the engineering complexes. But it's going to be fascinating. People are going to be dumb, and you're going to see a lot more wormhole field trips of people going from one side of the galaxy to the other to pop any kind of high-value
Now,
engineering complex.
The interesting thing about these is they are a little more deadly than the old-fashioned POS. I mean, you used to look at POS as something dangerous, but nowadays POS are nothing. Like, you just drop a bunch of supers and caps and stuff. But the thing is, these will follow the same model as Citadels, where caps will probably get fucked up pretty hard. You try to bring a solo cap to one of these things. The XL, as they pointed out, standard caps can dock there. Titans and Supers cannot dock. They can be built and then appear in one, and then they can do the initial undock, or like a tether thing, but they cannot dock again. So that's interesting. A lot of people are looking forward to possibly being able to dock their super in one of these while they're building, but it looks like that won't be a thing. So
you're gonna have
Go
is
ahead,
you're gonna have people like me. So I own a few super carriers, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna say I have an Aeon pilot. I'm just gonna have a couple more Aeons for him, and just be like, oh hey, I lost an Aeon, jump in another one, jump back into the fight.
yeah.
Let's see docking and undocking to change ships. I don't think that's a problem for them. So
I think what's going to be particularly interesting about these complexes, particularly for the ones, the XLs, which is where people are going to be building these things, is that the amount of vulnerability is so much more than with a combat Citadel. Like, it's something like 36 hours a week of vulnerability for an XL Citadel.
Right.
So the yards are incredibly vulnerable, and they have some defenses, but it's not like going after a Keepstar.
Yeah, so these get even better too, because not only is it a thing such as a Keepstar size, but what's nice about these is that they've actually done a good job of making if you go out to 0-0 with these things, the production value gets even better. To give you an idea, as far as research bonuses, when you're doing science reduction, it goes from 14% reduction in high sec to 24%. It goes from manufacturing and science jobs from 28% to 48% bonuses. So the amount of bonus here is huge. And, of course, the cost is better. Now, an XL yard won't cost 1/10 of a Keepstar. So instead of 300 billion, you're spending 30 billion. And that's huge. 90% reduction in value, they said. So that's a big, or cost, to build these things. So that's a huge deal right there alone. But yeah, there's already several. I've been listening to industrial people talk about this, and they've been like fawning all over how well CCP is doing these, because they're going to make building in 0-0 so much better. Like, just building of ships, building of anything. Like, even people are looking at buying XLs just to build frigates, because just the cost reduction is so massive. So you're muted.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're fine.
Between that and the, I have to mute my mic so people don't have to hear me sniffling like I'm in a debate. From what I understand, the Rorquals are also getting massively buffed. So between the engineering complexes, all this, with also the new Rorqual, it is pretty much an ideal time to be an industrial player. Which is funny because the last time they did a big industry pass, they cleaned up the interface, but it wasn't really like a Brave New World of awesomeness.
Yeah, this is
somebody saying, Mittens looks like he needs to sleep. I'm literally, I was saying this in chat, you guys are getting to watch me have a fever break on live TV. I didn't know I was having a fever until suddenly, in addition to just feeling sort of zoned out, sweat started pouring out of every pore. And so that's good. Fever breaking is good. Yeah, fever breaking on live TV is kind of a pain in the ass, but...
We have a few minutes left here.
You said the roll.
Sorry.
If you've done the math on the roll call, I mine now. The CCP took away mine and a few other my friends' masked Chimera army, and I'm very sad about that.
Oh.
But instead now we mine, and we did the math on roll calls, and they look really good if you look at the numbers. But if you look at the numbers a lot harder, and you start doing some math, it looks not too good. The fighters the roll call is gonna need. They cost about 600 mil currently to build. It's per fighter. They don't have much hit points, so they're going to die pretty quickly. And the price is only going to go up because the salvage required to build them comes from the drone lands. So
yeah. So we have 2 minutes left. I don't want to go into this, but I have a quick question. There's been a lot of questions in Jabber about this, and a lot of questions in chat. With the coming of these, citadels and the production ones, and being able to see what they're building, especially with Titans, does that mean the group that shall not be named will appear again out in these enemy territories? Will you see an invisible hand appearing in the drones?
I hope so. I mean, I think that there's a lot of people who, in many areas, when there is sunlight, which is the best disinfectant, it reveals lots of things, like it does charity scams, and it'll be fascinating to see people turning over the rock in nullsec and finding what is lurking in all of these drone region CSAAs, and it would be a terrible shame if something happened to them, because I'm sure that they're all very nice people who are building super capitals for kids with cancer, and so it would just be awful if some people who totally didn't exist popped out of a wormhole and blew up these things.
Yes.
Because then how would the kids with cancer get their Titans?
Like, it's going to be, I'll tell you from my personal hunting experience before I get to Jay, I will probably go back to hunting Titan building yards if I can see that there's a Titan there. Like, some guy comes to me and goes, "Hey, Boat, I just found this. Here you go." And yeah, that's a no-brainer. Jay, what do you think?
In terms of people going around hunting super caps that are being built?
Yeah, in terms, like, do you see the group that shall not be named that you are a part of?
Oh.
Yeah, they return to their roots. Yeah.
Yeah, they probably will. I would say that if I were a hostile and building super caps, then I would consider fortifying the system a little bit more.
Well, they should be happy, though, because their super capitals being served up on a platter for people who don't exist to kill them is content, and as we know from everybody who's outside of the Imperium, because we're evil people that don't care about the content of people, in fact, we don't use content as a word at all. That's one of the shibboleths. But, these people should be happy that the non-existent group comes out of wormholes and blows up their super capitals, because they are then providing content, and that's what we hear that the barbarians of Eve love so much.
Yeah,
so there you go.
Content and good fights.
Yeah, so we're out of time. But one last thing about this is it's going to be interesting to see, because there are a lot of groups in the drones that operate on that anonymity, using X-Death to cover it up. X-Death will buy people off and say, don't fuck with us this week or whatever. It's going to be really hard for him to do that when he says, "Oh, we're not building super caps here. These are just renters." And then there's, tens of these things, and it's going to be really hard to buy off everyone. So I'm gonna love it. So yeah, we're out of time.
And I am going to go take a goddamn nap.
Yeah, so thanks for all of our new followers. We've had 3 new resubscribes today. It's been wonderful. I thank everyone for tuning in. Of course, this is the MetaShow, more structured. Next week, I should have it a little better layout and design rather than my MS Paints.
Thanks a lot, Boat. You put a lot of work into that, actually. So, they're pretty cute.
What do you mean? What do you mean better design than your MS Paints? I thought that was like the highest.
Well, I might gift them. I might make them into GIFs. So they move.
Oh wow!
We should get a spin zone. We need to get like a Spin Master GIF.
Yeah, I'll have a couple more of those. Zone. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. A lot of people tuned in today, so I will. I'm
gonna go take a nap and deal with the rest of this.
Yeah, so the boat show's up next, and we're gonna play some more Civ. Kid Killer and I are gonna play some Civ. So, bye guys.
Thanks, guys. See you again next week.
You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching the MetaShow.